Hey everybody, welcome to the Purpose People podcast. Today we've got a very special guest, Andrew Jenkins, so welcome.
Hi Darryl, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to drive over the bridge and come and visit us in the country. You found us as well, which is great.
It's beautiful setting. It's one of the nicest places that I've podcasted. So yeah, it's lovely. So it's nice to be here. Thank you.
So Andrew, you've obviously got an incredible story, but we want to kind of like start where most people start, when they're at school. What was the dream when you were at school? What did you want to be when you grew up, so to speak?
The dream when I was in school was actually stay in a lesson, I said, without getting chucked out of a lesson. That would be my biggest thing. But I enjoyed school. Do you mean I went to school for the wrong reasons, if you like. I didn't go to school to learn. I went to school to see my friends and play rugby. And I was like the typical class clown in school, the popular one, the people pleaser. Oh, he's always funny. He's always larking around. I could have been academic, but I don't think it was my learning style, whether I'm a bit ADHD. I don't know. I think I probably am now, but I couldn't sit in a classroom looking at it was a blackboard back then. I know they don't have blackboards anymore, but it wasn't my learning style. So I could have been academic. And it's funny, my parents even, and they used to say to me, he could be really academic, get it, but he's just not. He wants to play rugby. All I wanted to do was play rugby, go out in the yard and play rugby all the time, or play with my friends really. So I could have been academic. And when I was older, I suppose I wanted to be a professional rugby player.
Yeah,
like lots of people in Wales.
So was that, you talk about that at school and that way of learning and that way of engaging, but was that you being a professional rugby player, was that generally what most boys aspired to in and around where you lived?
Well, so a lot of the people I bothered in my social network, I suppose, were all sporty people, like football or rugby. Yeah. I played both actually growing up, but then I decided as I got a bit bigger, I was too big to play football, so I decided to go on the rugby path. And I got 3 brothers, 2 older brothers, 1 younger, and they all played rugby at a very good standard as well. So rugby in my house was just ridiculous. My dad is an avid rugby fan. He's sports fan, to be honest. Sport growing up was massive in my household. So my dad's probably watching. If Conkers was a sport, Tiddlywinks, he'd be watching that probably. So he loves sports. So growing up, the competitiveness was ridiculous in my house.
Yeah. So you've got 4 brothers?
Yeah. No, 3 brothers.
3 brothers.
Yeah.
And your dad. So what was that like living at home? It must have been like really busy.
It was.
Really loud. I'm one of 3 boys, so I look back with my mum and I'm like, wow, I don't know how you did it. So
as you get older, especially as you get older, when you start going out socialising and drinking, like, God, how she put up with that? Like on a Saturday night, for example, one of us wouldn't come home, want to come home covered in blood, want to come with all your mates, want to bring a girl home. So how she put up with that for years and years and years. But it makes you realise. My mum passed away a couple of weeks ago, and it made me realise I worked on myself a lot the last 2 years and things, and I've made me realise, appreciate how much work my mother did for us all. Do you know what I mean? She was a typical old-fashioned housewife. Like when she left school, she went to grammar school. She's a really bright, really intelligent lady. She worked in National Westminster Bank, and back then, in I suppose late 60s would have been, there wasn't many women in the bank. It's a male-dominated industry. So to get her to get a job in National Westminster Bank was really a really big achievement. But then when my oldest brother Simon was born, who was 9 years older than me, she gave up her job then to be an old-fashioned housewife. Yeah. And then when she went back to work, when my youngest brother Carl, who's 7 years younger than me, was old enough to look after himself. She went back to work in a local news agency. She worked there for 23 years.
Oh, wow.
And she only gave up work 2 years ago. She had a big bleed on the brain. She was still working until she was 77. Wow. And my parents are really lovely human beings, but very old-fashioned views and morals and beliefs and outdated. Like my parents have never driven a car. They've never sat on an aeroplane. Wow. They have the same meals every night at the same time. They watch the same things on television, Coronation Street, Emmerdale Farm. I could tell you by the clock exactly what my dad's doing now. So they're creatures of habit. They hate change. And they've got a very fixed mindset as well. So they're lovely people, but the generation they're from is very old-fashioned.
So did you find that as you were growing up then, that a lot of people would stay in the village and grow up in the village? There was not necessarily people wanting to leave. It was just, is that the way it was?
I get cast out of Wales if I say it. Wales, to be honest, I love being Welsh. I'm a proud Welshman, but Wales, especially where I'm from, is quite, you're born with a glass ceiling on you. And it's like the ambition, it's a graveyard of ambition in a lot of places in Wales. And yeah, it sounds awful to say. And like growing up, you don't know what you don't know. So I was growing up in the town or this village where I was from. You don't know what else is out there. And it's only been the last couple of years, really. I've actually looked and I started growing more and looking outside of things. But I went to my local pub a couple of months ago, and it's the same people sitting in the same chairs saying the same stories they were 20, 30 years ago. Do you know what I mean? I'm not knocking them. I was one of them a few years ago. I haven't changed. Like me going to London a few years ago was like, massive. Like it was massive. Going to London, it's like going to the other side of the world. Like my parents, you know, we go to London, watch out for them terrorists. So, Mum, they're not all terrorists in London. Do you stop watching the news all the time? That was their belief system. Do you mean my mother and father would never go to London. Go to Cardiff is massive for them. Like for me now, I enjoy it. Like so, I'm trying to grow and step my comfort zone now.
It's quite an interesting one because I think for me, my wife ran a kids club at one point in a city area in Bristol, and what we found is that the community that was built in and around sort of like areas of poverty. So there was a very large council estate in Bristol called Knowle West, and basically they moved after the war. They just took people from different parts of Bristol and moved them and put them together, which in itself caused problems. But those that then had community, it was like, this is all it is. We're about community. This is where we're at. But what was interesting with Claire is that one of the things she did was to take them to the beach. So we had all these inner city kids that had never left the area. They must have been ranging from about 5 to about 9, sort of age-wise. Never left the area, had no desire to go to the beach, and we took them to West Wales. And we got them in a minibus, and we drove all the way there, and they stayed there. I think we stayed away from them for 4 nights, I think it was. And they'd seen the beach, and it's just mind-blowing for them. They were like, this is the sea, and this is the sand, these are the stones. And it was almost like, for me, it was that thing of, you can leave where you are. You know, there is a boundary, obviously, that you live in, but you can cross it. It's not a fence, you know. And I think for some of those kids, it was that awakening of, actually, there is a little bit more to the world than just what I see. So I don't think it's necessarily a Welsh thing. I do find that the pockets of poverty where everyone just like clubs in and we muck in together, but then someone goes, I want to leave, and it's almost seen as a bad thing. And I think that's probably where that comes from. It's like, well, if I leave, I'm going to ruffle the feathers of the nest or whatever.
That's right. There's a lot of peer pressure. And if you want to try and do something or do something different to everybody else, you get, people, oh, don't do that, and you get dragged backwards. Like, other people get. There's a lot of jealousy. I think it's quite tribal. There's a lot of jealousy, and if you want to try and do something different out of the norm, everybody else looks at you, thinks, oh, that's weird, and you get like sort of dragged back a lot of it. Like, there's a lot of successful people, or could have been ambitious and driven, who didn't go anywhere because they were scared of everybody else's opinions and scared and not courageous enough to be brave enough to do something different or go somewhere different. And there's only one or two people I know I grew up with really who've gone and moved out to Wales. One lives in Australia, one lives in London. There's not very few, to be honest. There's lots of very talented people where I lived and grew up in, but they're creatures of habit. They work hard all week and then go out on the weekend, and it's like a cycle repeat every day, every week. That's the thing. Do you know what I mean? And it's like I'm not knocking them, but that's their life, and there's so much more out there. Yeah,
and I think that became my driver, is discovering what purpose was. So when I knew what purpose was and knew it could encompass a lot more people, I realised that I had to leave where I lived. I grew up in a place called Yate, which is not too far from here. I renamed it Yate because it just sounded posher. Yate. Where are you from? I'm from Yate. But again, it was that kind of like ambition where people didn't want to leave, or you stay here or whatever else. And I was like, well, where are you going to work? I'm going to Bristol. Why are you going to work there? Where are you going out on Saturday? It was like, I'm going to Bristol. Why can't you come to Yate? It was like, oh, you're one of those city guys now. I was like, not really. It was like 10 miles away. And then obviously that moved into London and beyond that. And I think once I began to look at the world and began to see like there were so many people from so many walks of life, and I felt, well, I can impact them, then let's do it. So for me, I've now started to travel a bit more and stuff like that. But I think the driver for me to leave the nest is purpose. And I think that's quite a key thing.
I think a lot of us, your parents as well. If your parents have never left the area or never left anyways, it's hard to learn behaviour, I suppose, aren't they? If your parents are trying to, not support, not support you, but if they got negative beliefs and old-fashioned views and beliefs, obviously that's instilled in you from a young age, isn't it? From the age of 0 to 7, like your subconscious views are built into you by the age of 7. So if you're listening to your parents say and do things, never leaving the place or never going on an airplane or never driving, it's hard. It's called social mobility. I've done a lot of work on social mobility. I've done some work with the UN recently on social mobility. Basically, just means being better than your parents as well, moving ahead of getting out to the council estates and moving out to their region and growing as a person. And I do a lot of work with that because I'm from a council estate, I suppose, and it wasn't a really rough council estate, but there wasn't much ambition or drive on that council. Well,
that's it, and I think that's the thing. It's for me, it's like people always go, "Oh, well, is it crime and this?" No, I don't think it's that. I think it's the ability to believe in oneself that they can do more than what they find themselves being able to do. And I think that's the problem. So it's not to say you grew up from a council estate and you're worth any less. Not at all. It's having the ambition to say, this is where you are right now. Can you maximize your skills, talents and abilities?
It's like role models, isn't it? If your role models, the older boys and girls, your role models, my role models are in a 10-mile radius where I lived, I suppose. So if the older people aren't doing anything at all, you're looking at them thinking, Is that what my future's going to hold? Are they going to ambition or drive? You just copy them, I suppose. It's a learned behaviour again. You're copying their role models, and my role models. I was in a rugby club from 5 years of age. I was in a gym from 14 years of age in school, older brothers and things. So I'm watching all these older people thinking, that's what my life is going to be in the future, is get a job, work hard for somebody else, building somebody else's dream, and that's it. Just be happy with that.
So you got to a point where obviously you grow up, you're getting a bit older now, you've got your own car and you're driving around and you got a little bit of independence. So at that age, what was the focus then? Was it live for the weekend? What was it?
Yeah. It was, my focus then was rugby, live for the weekend. Girls started coming into the equation then, I suppose. And it's being a jack the lad, you go out and getting drunk every weekend. Do you mean that's what you were measured by when you're younger? Do you mean? And get up on a Sunday morning, have a good night last night? Oh yeah, I can't remember anything that happened, but I think it was a good night anyway. Oh yeah, I got into a fight or drunk 10 pints, was sick next door, sick on the floor. That's how you measure your night, really. It's mad when you look back and think about it. Do you mean? It's crazy stuff. But in rugby club, you're standing up naked on the pool table or dancing on the singing and you're doing crazy things, but like you just typical boys in rugby club, I suppose. And that's what I did. Worked hard all week. I had a job in a communications company. It was a good job. I enjoyed it. I was traveling the country a bit, actually. That was my job. I bought my first car, BMW. I was quite cool buying a BMW, my first ever car. Yeah. And that was my job, working hard, earning good money, and just let a steam off on the weekend, I suppose, then.
So obviously then you're traveling back from the wedding where your life fundamentally changed. Yeah. Do you want to just talk us through that then? So you're living for the weekend. I guess from all sense of purposes, life is great.
Yeah, it was okay. But I didn't know any better. Life was good at the look at it now. It wasn't great, but at the time, I thought it was amazing. For me at the time, I didn't know any better at the time. It was good. Yeah, I was driving back from a wedding. There was 5 people in the car. I was driving. My son's mother was in the passenger seat. Oh, you on board? My partner at the time, my best friend and his girlfriend in the back, and a lady I used to work with in the back. I hit a curb on the left-hand side, and I flipped the car to the right-hand side. So I went through the driver's side window, the door. And my legs were in the footwell under the steering wheel, and my top half was out the car. I was dragged along the floor for a couple of 100 yards. So my head and my arm were dragged. As you can see, I had a big hole in my arm. And I had no hair, no skin, nothing on top of my head. I had a big hole in my skull. When the car stopped sliding, it leant on top of me. So when the fire brigade, the police and the emergency services turned up, they were asking people in the car different questions. They said, it's too late now, he's dead. So they said I was dead on the side of the road for a short term. And I had to have 2 blood transfusions on the side of the road because I lost so much blood. And you got 8 pints in your body. I lost 6. So I had to have 2 blood transfusions there and there on the side of the road. And then they took me to a hospital in South Wales called the Royal Gwent. There was nothing they could do for me there. So I had to have a police escort then to the Morrison Hospital in Swansea, because that's where neurology was and plastic surgery at the time. And then while all that was going on, my mother and father, they'd knock on the door that no parent wants to say, your son's been involved in an RTA, a road traffic accident. You have to come with us now. And they thought it was a little bump in the car. So they said, we'll get change. We'll come with you now. And they said, you haven't got time to get change. You have to come with us now. It's that critical. So they were put in the back of a police car and blue lighted from where they live in Llantriston or Talbot Green, which is probably about 20 minutes from the hospital. But as soon as they got to the hospital, I was on a trolley coming out of the hospital to get put in the back of an ambulance, get transferred to the second hospital. Yeah, okay. They weren't allowed to see me because I was in such a bad way. And they said, my dad said, can I come in the back of the ambulance and travel to the second hospital? And they said, no, you're not allowed. You've got a doctor, a nurse, and all machinery keeping your son alive. And they said, we don't think he's going to make the trip from one hospital to the other hospital, which is probably about 40 minutes. So he didn't think I was going to make that trip from the one hospital to the other hospital. So I went to the Morrison Hospital in Swansea then. The first operation I had that night was to take all bone from my brain, because I had a big hole in my skull. I had all bone embedded in my brain. So I'd take all the bone from my brain and take all the hair and skin off the back of my head and put it on the top of my head. So all this is off the back of my head. And then they had to took all the muscle from that bit of my arm there and put it there. They wanted to take my arm off, I think, at one stage there. But at the time, I had quite big arms, doing a lot of weight training, rugby and things. They said, lucky your arm was as big as they were, so you would have lost your arm. Yeah. So, I was in a coma for 4 weeks in intensive care, fighting for my life. So it was tough. Do you mean it was really tough? And nobody else in the car had a scratch on them.
Is that right? Wow. So how old were you then?
21.
21 years old.
So they had to work, psychologically, they probably went through a lot worse than I did. I just had it easy. I had to recover, I suppose, in my coma, but physically I had the brunt of it. But they saw horrendous things. Like my partner at the time, when the car stopped sliding, she was looking down. She had her seatbelt on, hanging above me, looking down. And I was half under the car, and the blood was everywhere. And she said, I was calling your name, and you weren't answering. I thought you were dead. And she was, for her and for all the people in the car, it was horrendous. And my family. So I went through, I say easy thing. So for everybody else around me, they went through a lot more than I did. So I can't remember it. As soon as my head hit the tarmac, I was unconscious, so I can't remember it. But for everybody else, by my bedside for 4 months or 4 weeks, was awful for them, I suppose. Only the last couple of years I really appreciated what they went through. My friends, my close friends, my family. It's horrendous for them.
So obviously there's that thing of the accident happening, and then the bit where you go unconscious, and then there's the bit of waking up for the first time. What was when you woke up? What was going through your head then?
Oh, it was scary. I didn't know where I was, what had happened. There's all machinery beep, as you can imagine, intensive cares beeping all the time, and there was tubes coming everywhere, and a tracheotomy in my throat there because I couldn't breathe. I had a scarf there, I had a tracheotomy in my throat, and my mother and father were standing on my bedside, and they told me what had happened, where I was, and everything. I can't remember anything. So yeah, I was going to imagine a mess in hospital. So yeah, it was quite scary listening to all this machinery beeping, and I was a bit obviously groggy waking up and that. So I was on lots of morphine, so I can't remember a great deal about it. But yeah, it was horrendous, scary, really scary.
So I guess the transition then is like, I'm 21. I want to get out of this bed and crack on with life. So were there any, like, you know, we talk about diagnosis where a doctor will come in and probably give you the worst possible case scenario. Did you have that where they kind of said that this is the picture of your life going forward? And
yeah, well, when I was in my coma, my family were told on a few occasions that from the scans they did on me, there's lots of shadows on my brain, which means dead tissue. They said severe brain damage. They said you got severe brain damage, so there's a chance he'll never wake up. But if he does wake up, he's not going to recognise anyone, walk, talk, use arms and legs ever again. So luckily I remember who people were when I woke up. But the doctors came around 4 days after that and said, you're never ever going to walk again. You're never ever going to walk again. And my first response was, I guarantee I'll walk at this hospital. He said, you won't. And I said, I will. And my mother said, it's embarrassing. The man is trying to tell you you're not going to walk again, the surgeon, and you're arguing with him with all these tubes. I sound like Darth Vader because the tracheotomy. You're arguing with this guy that you are going to walk again. So yeah, I did. I learned to walk. It took me about 2 weeks to learn to walk again. But I got out of bed for the first time after being on my back for 2 months. I literally, it was awful. I sit back down straight away because I felt so lightheaded. And then when they eventually got me out of bed, the physio, you got them bars you walk on, like the gymnastics people. I had them bars.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't find my legs. I literally couldn't find out to walk. And I'd done a lot of training. I know mind muscle memory and all this sort of thing, but I literally couldn't find my legs. And the physiotherapist had to pick my feet up, put one in front of the other. And I was stumbling. It was hard. You know, it's scary. Do you know what I mean? I'm not now walk ever again. From being sporty and active from 5 years of age to 21, I wanted to play rugby for my country, Wales, and being fit. It was scary, and no disrespect. I know people in wheelchairs had injuries from sport and things, and I know you'd adapt and everything. But at 21 years of age, the thought of being in a wheelchair for the rest of my life was.
So was that there was this like inner drive that wouldn't accept the situation for where you are? Do you think?
Yeah. So like growing up. Like my mother and father never told me they loved me to this day. They've never said that. And I know they do, but they don't know how to show their feelings and emotions. My dad's 82. My mother would have been 80, but she passed away a few weeks ago. But like, I'm compassionate towards my parents now. They don't know how to show their feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
Like the generation they come from, the way they show their love to me is a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food on the table.
Yeah.
Like my mother and father never heard of their parents, for example. So they never said it to me. So it's called emotional trauma, but I don't like to say the word trauma. That makes it sound like something bad happened. Nothing bad happened. A good upbringing. Just didn't have any emotional support.
Have you ever done like the love languages?
Yeah, my mother's acts of service, my dad's is time.
That's it.
Growing up, my mother's a feeder. So when I left home at 22 years of age, I'd never used a cooker, never used a washing machine, never used an iron. She did everything for it. My three brothers my dad exactly the same. So when I come home from rugby training, I put my washing on the floor by the washing machine. She'd wash it, iron it, fold it, put it back in the wardrobe. All my meals were done for me. So when I left home, I was useless at 22, but that was her way of showing she loved me. Only the last couple of years I've understood that, because when I used to go there, you know, God bless her, I used to go there, oh, look, you're looking tired, you lost too much weight. But I used to get frustrated and I used to go off in a huff. But I now know that's my mother's way of showing she cares and she loves me.
Yeah.
She loves me. My dad's is time. So every rugby match we played, he'd be on the touchline in the rain, the snow, the cold. He wouldn't miss any matches. But that was his way of showing he loved me. Like when I had my accident, he wanted to come in the back of the ambulance with me, give me his time to come in the back of the ambulance with me.
That's it, yeah.
So that was his way of showing he loved me. It was only the last couple of years where he understood it. So effectively, when I couldn't play rugby anymore at 21, I didn't think my dad loved me anymore. So it sounds crazy what I say now, but I didn't think he loved me anymore. The only way I thought of making my dad proud was playing rugby, coming off the rugby match. The only real conversation I had with my dad really was rugby.
Yeah.
So before the game on a Saturday or a Sunday, I talk about who you got on the weekend. After the game, we talk about rugby. So I couldn't play rugby anymore. I lost the connection with my dad. My three brothers still played rugby at a very good standard.
Yeah.
So I'd see my dad talking to my brothers and smiling, listening to my brothers. I'd be sitting there thinking, what can I talk about? My brothers are better than me. I thought he loved them more than me. And this went on for 24 years.
Wow.
I bottled my feelings and emotions for 24 years. Because growing up, lots of men or lots of boys, you're told to suppress your feelings and emotions as a man.
Yeah.
Don't be a girl. Babies cry. Girls cry.
Yeah.
So I thought, you can't talk about feelings and emotions. I'm a man. Just get on with it. So I wore a mask, basically, for 20 odd years. Get up every day, go off to my banking job, a smile on my face. Behind closed doors, I hated my life. Wish I was dead. Wish I wasn't here anymore. I hated my scars. I couldn't accept what happened to me. Hated what I looked like in the mirror. Called myself a freak every single day. I self-sabotage anything good happening to me. My life was literally a car crash for years and years and years. And it was awful. I couldn't talk about it because I thought, you can't talk about it. I'm a man. My family don't talk about feelings and emotions.
But you to some extent, you kind of like, you triumphed over the almost the setback of, you're never going to do this, you're never going to do that with the doctors. But then, as you said, then there's that going into normal life and trying to adjust. And you said you took you 24 years to adjust.
Yeah.
Was that because you never felt that you could talk to anyone about where you were at and how you were? Was it kind of the classic, well, I'm just going to man up and I'll get on with it? Is that kind of where you found yourself? Yeah,
it was part of that. I suppose, I was a strong man. You're the provider, you're the breadwinner, you're a big, strong man. You can't talk about feelings and emotions. And yeah, I thought I could never see my family or brothers show any feelings and emotions. Probably this day, my mum passed away a few weeks ago. I haven't seen my dad upset. My grandparents passed away, his parents. So I've never seen him upset. He thinks showing is a weakness. And I was a doorman, rugby boy, and you can't show feelings as a doorman, as a rugby boy. The opposition will win. And you've got to put this like stoic, it's nonsense really. But they offered me counselling after my accident and therapy. They said, what you've been through is horrendous. But I thought I was going to see somebody in a white coat who's going to judge me, psychoanalyze me, and get inside my head, some academic. And I thought, I'm not talking to that. How do they know how I feel? They studied a textbook for 5 years. So I refused counselling. I couldn't talk to my family. But then the first time I went for counselling after my accident was 15 years after my accident. The first time I ever spoke to somebody about it professionally. Wow. And because I was self-sabotaging things, I was upsetting people close to me. I thought, I can't keep on going like this. Do you mean? So I went to see someone, and she was amazing. And I say to people who are listening or watching my talks that if there's one thing you can take away from my talks, please speak to someone. It doesn't make you weak. It's actually braver and courageous to actually be vulnerable and talk to someone. But the woman I saw, after the first session, she goes, I know what's wrong with you. And I said, what's that? PTSD and depression? And she goes, you got them probably. She said, but no, you're grieving. And I thought, I do workshops on grieving now. And I said, grieving, that's when you die. And she goes, you haven't physically got to die to grieve. She goes, grief is the emotional reaction to the loss of any kind. And all I've heard of you today is, I used to play rugby, I used to do this, you grieve in the loss of identity. And she goes, people grieve all the time. Every single person will grieve, even if they haven't had a physical loss, when they lose their job, change departments in work. She goes, when you're tending for a big project and work doesn't come off, that's grieving. When you retire, when you have children, you grieve. You can't go out as much. You haven't got as much money, as much freedom. The grief is massive and nobody talks about it. And there's 7 stages of grief. Number 7 being acceptance. I was trapped between 2 and 6 things, arguing, bargaining, like why did it happen to me? Why am I still here? Depression, angry. So I was in the cycle for years. And don't get me wrong, my life didn't automatically change after the 15. After then I spoke to that woman. It was still hard after that, but I had a better understanding of where I was.
The ability to process where you were at. So obviously, how did you view life? Did you view life like, I've got a second chance? Or did you view life like, why me?
Yeah.
Was that
100%. I lost my rugby career, my dream, like lots of people. My brothers were playing rugby, and I thought I was good enough to play rugby for Wales, but it was my dream anyway. And I lost my looks, I lost all my confidence, my self-esteem. I hated my skin grafting, and it was awful. My life was a disaster, really. And people say that, I bet you, what's the saying? I bet you live life as every day as your last. And thinking, that's nice when you say it, but when you've got bills and work, and it's easy, if you've got lots of money, maybe, but it's hard to say it like that. And when people say to you, I can't notice your scars, I think that's nonsense. You're just being polite, I say. Do you mean? It's only the last couple of years I've actually believed it. Nobody cares about your scars. No. I speak to people now, we've got cellulite, stretch mark. Nobody cares. But when it's on you, it's hard for you to listen, to accept that. Do you know when people say, I didn't notice your scars till you mentioned it? I think, okay, whatever. And I only started wearing short sleeve t-shirts about 5 years ago. I wore long sleeve jumpers or shirts in work. I hated the skin grafting. And I hated my looks. I hated when I looked at when I look in the mirror every morning to get ready for work, I'd focus on this all the time, my skin grafting. And people say, I didn't even notice that. You pointed it out. I think, whatever. It's only the last couple of years. When somebody paid me a compliment or something nice to me, I'd always thought the negative. You got nice eyes, and I'd always thought the negative. But I changed my mindset a couple of years ago. When I wanted to say something horrible of myself, I just wouldn't say anything at all. And when somebody said something nice to me, I'd say thank you. That's 2 simple things like that made my self-esteem much better. So somebody said, got nice eyes, thanks. And it was weird at the start when I started doing it, but it's normal now when somebody says something nice, just say thank you.
So in terms of your career then, because obviously you're up and running and you went. So what was the was the thing just to make money and survive every day? Was that kind of the motivation? Because, obviously knowing you a little bit now in terms of you're a lot more purposeful, a lot more driven, and want to help as many people as possible. So that life from the accident to that point, that process, was it just all about surviving, really?
Earning money, like lots of people, you're led to believe from a young age, our happiness comes from external things, but actually happiness comes from internal here. So in the last couple of years, you understand that it only takes when, it's sad really, it takes when something bad happens to you or something awakening, you actually realise what's really important in life, but you're led to believe from a young age, more money equals more happiness. And like when I was going for jobs, I never once read the job description and applied for it. The first thing you look at is the wage, then you look at the job description. So I've never gone back in salary. Like I always gone up and up and up and up. Going backwards, you think it's a failure, that's a backward step. Whereas
it's interesting,
actually, I could have looked at the job spec, and that job could have suited me much better, but it's $5,000 less. I should have gone for that job. I mean, but it just wasn't like this society thing we live in, I suppose, and it's external pressures and expectations and everything. I took a 10 grand pay cut. Oh, you're mad, that's going backwards now. So it was earning money, getting material things, the house, the car, the body, all these material things, get validation and acceptance, other people's expectations, parents' expectations. All my friends are married, settled down, good jobs and that sort of thing. And it is external expectations. In the last couple of years, I've actually accepted myself, really.
So do you think that switch came from that conversation that you had, 15 years in?
No, it didn't. Okay, my life was still bad after that. Really. I understood myself better, but I still slipped back in my old ways, I suppose, striving things, jumping in relationships and that sort of thing. So only meeting the man who saved my life, that's what probably was a massive shift for my...
Okay.
I wanted to start working on myself before I met him.
Yeah.
People said, why did it take you 24 years to meet him? Because I wasn't in a good place. I wasn't ready. So I only spoke to that counsellor once. And then I tried to work on myself. I started studying, reading about myself, because I wanted to be a better version of myself, my friends, my family, my loved ones.
So you were on a quest from that moment, I would guess.
Yeah. I wanted to understand myself better. And and then I tracked the man down who saved my life. I tracked him on Google, which is a bit creepy, but I did track him down, Professor Ling. And this he's such a nice, humble man. And I went to see him in his office and he said, you're a miracle. He said, you should be dead. You should have died on so many occasions. We called you a miracle patient in hospital. So meeting him and hearing it from the horse's mouth, if you like, made me realise how close I came. I knew I was lucky before, but when I heard it off him, because this guy is really well respected in medicine, not just in Wales, in the UK. Yeah. He advises the government. He's operated on thousands of people. For him to say, he said, your injuries will always stay with me, he said. And he's operated on so many people. For him to say that, I thought, that must be right. So I've walked around. I let my trauma define me for 24 years. Yeah. So I'm now using my trauma to help inspire people. It's called post-traumatic growth, or growing off the back of a trauma. Yeah. I mean, like my trauma, I was stuck in that for years. I don't know if I'm fully accepted yet, to be honest, but I'm getting there. I'm better than I was yesterday, last week, month before. I try and get better and move forward a little bit every day. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I have a backward stumble now and again. Yeah. But I'm just more self-aware. And I think self-awareness is a superpower. If more people were self-aware in the world would be a better place.
100%.
But I used to say things, do things, fly off the handle, didn't care what I said, upset people. I didn't care. But now I think I try and, my logical brain kicks in more than my chimp brain. My chimp used to kick off and rant and rave and say things, he's passionate. It's not passionate. And people can change with neuroplasticity. It tells us we can change our behaviours and the way we think. Yeah. And like people say, people are scared to hold that mirror up to them in front of themselves. It's scary. You look at your flaws, your triggers, your faults, and work on yourself. But I think more people need to do that. But I can see why people don't do it. I did it a couple of years ago.
Well, I think, it goes back to that masks, right? So people wear masks all the time.
To protect themselves. It's not a bad thing sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, like whether you go into the workplace, you're like, I've got it all together, or we use the way we use social media. Social media, every post is perfect. I remember we had a girl speak at Humans, and she was telling how the obsession with chasing numbers.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, she would literally take a picture of herself, spend a good 2 hours editing it before she posted it. And people that knew her go, that didn't even look like you, right? But she was just all about the gram. And she said, I got to a point where my whole life was literally lived around this square. And she woke up one day and said, nah. But now she does talks on that, stop living your life through the square and start living your life in and around it, and you'll feel so much better as a person. Yeah. So like with yourself, you're on this journey to sort of give back, or you're certainly finding more about yourself.
Yeah.
So where did Traitors, where did that Let's Go on a reality TV show kick in? Was it an opportunity that just came up and you thought, back myself, or how did it come about?
Yeah, well, they approached me. But I just want to just touch on what you just mentioned there and say from a young age, our self-worth starts getting value, or our value as a human being and self-worth starts getting judged. We attach that to our achievements in life and material things in life.
Yeah.
Like in school, if you get an A grade, teachers love you. If you get a D grade, E grade, you're written off. Or if you come first, yeah, great. Like I was growing up, I was so scared of failing. I would never do anything unless I knew I was going to win or be successful, because I attach my value to my achievements in life. When I go around to schools now, I see your value as a human being is your value, regardless if you get what grades you get, regardless if you come first, last. I said the people around you will love you exactly the same, think exactly the same of you, whereas I didn't think it did. So I attached my value to my rugby and things like that. So when I couldn't do that anymore, I lost my identity. So I struggled with that. So I say to people now, don't attach your self-worth. And when I do my talks, I get them to do an exercise. I say, write 5 things down on that bit of paper, the qualities that make you valuable as a human being. Not your achievements, not your material things or belongings. And people really struggle with it. I say, I can guarantee, if I asked you to write 10 negative things, you could do it straight away.
Yeah,
but write 5 good things. I said, they'll never change, or they can change. They won't change regardless of your achievements in life. I said, don't get me wrong, it's important to achieve things and have goals, but don't beat yourself up. I think in this country, we've got to get better at failure is part of life. We're wrapping our kids in cotton wool nowadays, and I say that's not realistic.
No.
And people say the kids aren't resilient these days. And I say we're not letting them be resilient. We're wrapping them in cotton wool. I say don't learn resilience by watching me or watching my videos on YouTube. You learn resilience by living life.
Yeah.
I say that's how you live life. And I know your kid who doesn't want you, it's not nice to see your child upset, but all you got to get better as parents, teachers, coaches, sitting back and think, right, why did you not achieve it? Put things in place to get it the second time or the third time or the fourth time. Keep going until you eventually get it.
Yeah.
And that's where you build resilience. And that's where you build mental strength and things like that. Keep
100%.
going. These things, like I love sport, and I'm all for getting kids involved in sport because I've coached kids for years in rugby league and union. But like this thing now where everybody's a winner, there's no losers. It's total nonsense. I said you're not doing your kids any favours at all. My previous partner's little boy came from a football tournament, and I said, he's 8, he was. Do you win the tournament? We all won. I said, what do you mean you all won? We all had medals. I said, right, okay. If you scored 8 goals and you scored no goals, that team doesn't win. How is that possible? He couldn't. How is that possible? It's not, I said to his mother, you're not doing me any favours.
The issue is then you get into the world, like generally, and where the results count, and you don't get paid as much as the next person because you're not winning. I
said KPIs in work, a target in work, is that you win or lose. Unfortunately, that's the whole point. It's nice to have something to achieve. I used to like targets in the bank, for example.
Yeah.
But last couple of years, I was there, got rid of all the targets because you're not allowed to do all that. But I think there's nothing wrong with, as long as the targets are done compliantly to the benefit of the customer, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You got a purpose every day. My target, my points target. It's good. I like something to achieve in that. But when they got rid of it all, I thought, it's wishy-washy. Like, I go to work every day. Do you have a good day today?
You see, so my biggest thing with the antidote to this is that we in the education system don't spend enough time with our understanding what our children's strengths are.
Yeah.
So what happens is you've got, there's that famous quote, isn't there, about, judging a fish's ability to climb a tree, and often that's schooling, right? So some people can climb a tree and some people are a fish and they're better at swimming in water than they are climbing a tree. So my thing is this, is that if we ask the questions or understand a child's skills, talents and abilities early on and then begin to map a path in and around that so we can amplify their strengths and not necessarily be aware of your weaknesses, but not let's major on them. Because I think if you major on your weaknesses, then your strengths become average and then your weaknesses become average. So then you just end up on average. Yeah. So for me, it's if you can focus on your skills, talents, abilities, that then is a very easy thing to say, and that's where purpose is, because you got those skills and those attributes to live life on purpose. And for me, that's why, of all the things that the system needs more than anything else, is kids to understand their purpose. And I think when you understand purpose, you can be successful with the skills, talents, ability you have. You don't really have to compete in a sense anymore because you don't really care what the next person does because I know this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. And then you can lose at sports and go, it doesn't matter because it's not a value thing anymore.
But I say, as long as you look in the mirror and put your hand on your heart in whatever it is in life, in sport, in work, and say, I tried my best, I give 100%.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to ask for in life at the end of the day. I know, it's nice to achieve things, but if you give 100%, but I think normally you could have given a couple more percentage, like, why didn't you hit your target in work? Did you see enough customers? Did you do enough outbound calling? Why did the partner end the relationship? Did you treat the prop or him right? I think there's always room for improvement, or not always, sometimes, but as long as you can look in the mirror,
I think hand on your heart
and say, I give 100%.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask for in life, unfortunately.
But I think it's like when I play football, like I might, maybe because football was my thing, right?
Yeah.
And I might have scored a couple of goals and it was great. But then our coach used to walk around and speak to each player.
Yeah.
Almost like a commentary from the last game.
Yeah.
And then he'll go to you and say, you got 2, but you could have scored 2 more. And you're like, and you knew, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Which would then fuel you up to go. But he done it in such a calm manner, not, no, you're an idiot or whatever. Yeah. He said, that 2% that you're, just put it in.
Yeah.
Put it in and you'll watch. And I remember that season, I think I played, he kept speaking to me like that, and it kept driving me or whatever. And I ended up getting the Player of the Year award.
Wow.
And it was because there was somebody who could see it just a bit more, just a bit more, just a bit more. You could kid 1,000 people, right? But he just wouldn't allow it. It's like, no. Just keep pushing harder. And I think you need those, you touched on it earlier, you need those people in, like, you might have an inner champion, but you need someone alongside you to say, come on, you can do it.
He sounds like a great coach, to be honest, because a lot of coaches out there, whatever sport it is, football, rugby, cricket, or netball, and also the workplace, they shame their employees or shame their players into performing. And I've been involved in work before, in the branches. I worked in managing. When I was a staff member, employee, not a manager, where you got the league tables on a whiteboard, you're bottom this league table, and you've got to stand up in front of the whole branch, 30 members of staff there. Tell them why you didn't hit your target yesterday, Andrew. And you say, you don't get your best out of your staff by shaming them. I said, you recruit somebody, or you obviously seen something in them when you interviewed them, and it's up to you then to coach them, mentor them, and nurture them, listen to them, to help them flourish and to remove what stops them from growing, remove that around them and help them. By shaming the people, that still goes on now. Actually, when I go to businesses, it still goes on now. I say,
but that's very much top down, right? So again, it goes back to that thing. It's like, as a leader, your ability is about serving someone, not shouting at them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you can come down to their level and have that empathy piece, and then show them how you can add value to them, they begin to fly. And it goes back to something you said in the beginning, actually, about parents, is that my goal in my life is that my kids outrun me.
Yeah.
So they supersede where I am. But that's not the same in every family. Sometimes it's like, I'm the king, and you will never take this flag from this mountain. And I think for us to get the best out of the next generation is to say, how can we make you be better than we were? Learn by our mistakes. And I think for me, a community that allows people to fail, but allows to lift them up and give them the space to fail in order to be better, will flourish.
And vulnerability. I think a lot of us lead them in vulnerability. And when you say the word vulnerable, leaders, like, they got egos, a lot of egos, haven't they? They think vulnerable is a weakness. No, it's all vulnerable means is like humanizes you and tell your staff you failed in the past, but also how you overcome that to come back stronger. And, I know you've got to wear different hats as a leader in a business and that sort of thing. I've been managing the banks for years, but there's certain things where if you lead with vulnerability, it creates a much better culture in your organisation. And everybody under you is like not afraid to fail. They all add their values, better creativity, more innovation, because they all want to put their ideas in. Because when you're sat in a business sometimes, you're looking at the directors at the top, you think, oh, they're untouchable, they never make mistakes, they're perfect, they know all the answers. Yeah. When you're a leader, admitting you don't know all the answers, that's fine. It helps all the staff then put out their ideas, and it creates a much better environment. But vulnerability is a big thing. Like, growing up for me, my son, when he played rugby, for example, and I thought, I didn't do it I wasn't being horrible, I was doing it, I thought, from a place of love and to help support him. But he come off the field, he could have had the best game ever. He could have scored 2 tries, kicked all his kicks or whatever. He come off the field, I'd always find the one thing he didn't do. So he come off the field, the one person he wants to be talked to and be proud of is his dad. Yeah. He come over to me, missed that tackle, missed that kick. So in my head, I thought, it's in the last couple of years, I got quite upset when I thought about this. In my head, I thought I'm making him better. Not pushing him literally, but making him better, improve. But all I'm really telling him is he's never good enough. Yeah. No matter what he does, he's never good enough. So but all in his head, he's thinking, flipping heck, no matter what I do, I'm never good enough for my dad. Yeah. So yeah, God, I was doing it I didn't do it intentionally, meaning that really. I did it, try and make him a better player, but help him, support him. Like that coach you said then, what he did is, sounds a really good, that's the right way to coach people.
He didn't shame people. He pulled you aside and he worked on it. And I thought, again, goes back to that emotional intelligence. And I think what you said about, that pointing out that one thing, I think we are conditioned now in society to make you better. I point out that one thing, not realizing that
strengths.
You would, if you were given a choice, you would want the encouragement more than anything else, and like, if you can encourage someone, and I reflect back, the coaches I played for were the ones that said, yeah, you may not got that perfect, but here's the 5 things you did really well.
That's good.
I'm gonna run harder and faster and more furious for you. And unfortunately, that mentality runs right the way through into elite sport.
You touched on it just now. So playing to your strengths, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was a survey. I read it a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was like X number of billionaires or successful people and normal people. And they said, if you had like a percentage of your time, would you work 100% on your strengths? How would you split your time on your strengths, weaknesses? I can't remember the exact, I'm going to butcher this now, but a lot of the average people then, they said they'd work 60% of their weaknesses. Yeah. All the super successful people said 100% on their strengths, 100% of their time they put on their focus on their strengths all the time. Yeah. I was quite surprised by that, actually. I put in a certain percentage of my weaknesses. But like you said, all the successful people, I can't remember if they were CEOs or entrepreneurs or whatever, super successful, they spend 100% of their time focused on their strengths all the time.
And that's it. And where you are weak, you bring other people that are strong. And that's how you build a strong organization. Yeah. But we've been miseducated that we've got to work on our weaknesses, and even in business we've got to work on our weaknesses rather than outsource those weaknesses and be strong on what you're strong, because ultimately people want to work with you because you're strong in an area, and they go, I want that guy's ability or that girl's ability, and build around that. And I think that's my point. If everyone plays to their strengths and everyone knows they're maximizing their strengths, how much better would society be then?
Much stronger.
Because everyone feels confident, everyone feels happy, because they're not doing something that's not them. They'd like, this is what I'm put on earth to do, know? And I think that's the big shift for me in terms of like how we can be better leaders, is how do we amplify the strengths that you have to be at success. That's so good, let's share a little bit about your journey then. So you got approached. How did you get approached by a TV company out of nowhere?
I had a page on Instagram because after I met the doctor or the professor who saved my life, I wanted to start talking my journey on social media.
Okay.
So I sat my mother and father down for the first time ever and spoke about the accident 24 years after it happened. We never asked me what happened, never asked me where I was. Didn't speak about it. Brushed under the carpet, the elephant in the room. So I sat them down on a Friday afternoon and talked about, I said I want to start talking my journey, how I felt about it. I said, I didn't think Dad loved me anymore. It was a stupid, of course he loves you. It was a weird conversation we had, but I had it. But then on Saturday morning, I spoke to my son. He was in Cardiff Met, actually, doing sports science. He was 22. And we had a 4.5 hour chat about everything. We talked about drink, drugs, girls, my life, the accident. And at the end of that conversation, I told him I loved him for the first time in his life. So it took me 22 years to tell myself I loved him. So I was bringing him up the same as I was getting brought up, I suppose. So I spoke, we had it was an amazing conversation. But also I said to him, I'm proud of you. I don't care how big your house is, what car you got, what you do for a living. All I want is you to be happy in life. So I've broken that generational cycle in my family now. So we tell each other we love each other all the time now. Brilliant. It's normal. And I spoke to my brother on a Saturday afternoon, my oldest brother on a Saturday afternoon, my other brother on a Sunday, my brother on a Monday. It's a huge therapy weekend. And the reason I spoke to them all, I wanted to start talking about my feelings, where I'd been for the last 24 years on social media. But I didn't want them to find out third party, because obviously it involved them. And then I had a page on Instagram talking about my journey, and a casting director from the Traitors, or from Studio Lambert, messaged me on there saying, your story looks incredible, you seem like a nice person, do you want to apply for this show? And first of all, I thought somebody was winding me up, first of all. And I thought, go on, I'll try it. So I kept getting, they didn't just give me the place, I had to go through the process, but then they instigated initially. I don't watch reality TV really. And then I kept getting through next round, and I got lots of Zoom calls with the directors and these people. And after a couple of months, they said, we love you. Do you want to come on the show? And I said to my partner at the time, I said, I don't care about being recognised. I generally don't. I'm a humble guy. I know where I come from. But I could get a great profile and a platform, the connections I got now, to do what I do now, what I'm doing at the moment. So so it had the effect I wanted. So I used it. I used it for my own personal gain, to be honest, to project me, do what I do now, to be honest. So it had the effect I wanted. And that's the only reason I went on the show. But they approached me initially. It was funny. So
what was it like? Was it what you expected it to be? Was it as it was on the cameras, or was it just like that's only a small percentage of what's going on? Or what was it like?
It's exactly what you see on the telly. Is what it's like in real life. They don't tell you what to do. It's not scripted. They don't tell you what to say. yeah, the editing in a way is different, looks differently. Obviously, they chop and change it, but everything you see is real. And it was weird. It was like a pinch yourself moment. It didn't really sink in I was on there until either at the round table for the first time, or I met Claudia for the first time. She came out and said hello to me, started talking, knew my name, started talking to me. It was strange. It didn't really sink in for the first couple of days, I think. I was actually sat in this incredible castle in Scotland, and it's an amazing show. And yeah, behind the scene, they work so hard. All the people behind the scene, there's so many lighting, cameramen, all different people around.
So how long did it last? I got
to the final, so I was there for 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
So it depends. Some people were there for a couple of days or one day. Yeah. Very lucky. I got to the final. I was there for 4 weeks in total.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing experience. You're not allowed to speak to anybody for 4 weeks. So, and obviously you can't tell anybody where you are because you signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. So I couldn't tell. I told my boss where I was in work, obviously, because he wondered where I am for 4 weeks. My dad knew. My brother knew, my partner knew at the time, but my mother didn't know where I'd gone. So I said I was working away for 4 weeks in Scotland doing insurance.
In the castle.
Doing insurance. So, because I knew my mother worked in a local newsagent and she loves a gossip. My mother loves a chat. So if I told my mother, it'd be around my local village within about 2 minutes where I was. And I get fined. I didn't want to get fined by anybody actually because you signed confidentiality.
So obviously, what changed? What shifted when you come out of it? Obviously, you got to the final, whatever. What was life like after? Was there a big change, or was it just your phone was ringing more than normal?
Oh, it was crazy.
What was it like?
They prepare you for what's to come. They say, but obviously they can't really unless until you actually experience it. It's crazy when you're walking everywhere. Like so many people come up to you after asking you. I'm quite recognisable. I'm a big guy as well. I got some scarring. I got to the final, and hundreds of people come up to me and just asking for. And now it's still the same. Now, and 18 months later, it's gone a bit quieter, but it's still not. Everywhere you go is crazy. You go to restaurants, people come up to you on the weekend. People come up to me all the time asking for photos, and yeah, it's good. I love it. I mean, but it's given me the chance to do what I do now because I was working in insurance. I was doing commercial insurance, so liability and things like that. And I thought I was going to carry on working in insurance and do a bit of speaking on the side. But I was so busy after the show. People were saying to me, "Oh, come and do this talk. Come and do it. Can you come and do this?" I was working 7 days a week. I was working 60, 70 hours trying to make up my insurance job in the evenings, all weekend, on the weekends. Yeah. But the thing is with me, I was lying to my boss in work all the time. Because obviously to go on the show, I had to get permission off the big boss in London. So, after the show, because my life is all over social media at the moment, I'd say to my boss in work, I'm off to see a customer about his insurance policy now. He's due for renewal in a couple of months' time, a big construction company or a restaurant. I'd leave the building, leave my office. Within about 2 or 3 hours of leaving the office, all over LinkedIn or all over social media and Instagram, welcome Andrew from the Traitors to his podcast. I go back to the office the next day or the next, whatever. He'd say to me, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, sorry." And he's a good guy. And I put him in an awkward position, really, I suppose. He's a nice guy. My boss is brilliant. And he said, the thing is, the big bosses in London are watching him like a hawk, and they're watching your social media, and they're saying to him, "What is he doing? What income is he bringing into the business? What income and insurance is he doing? He's doing so busy with his podcast, his tour." I wasn't really doing anything. I was doing my renewals, keeping on top of my existing customers, making sure they were done. But new business was probably hardly anything.
Difficult.
So I said, it's either give up my dream, what I'm doing now, or give up my job. So I took a massive gamble, I suppose, and it's a gamble now. And I give up my job. So I decided to leave my insurance job and chase my dream and inspire people. I'm on this planet for a purpose. And this is my purpose, to give back to people. And it's scary, don't get me wrong, it's ups and downs. And I left into nothing. I had no real business set up, no money to save in the bank. Yeah. So I left. I didn't have to work my notice period, which is 3 months. And he said, "You just leave today." So I just left the day. I went in to talk to him. I left that day. So I had no chance to build anything or save anything. And I've been so reactive over the last 60, 18 months. And everybody that's run my life for me, I haven't been very proactive. And I worked in sales all my life. I know you've got to be proactive in that. But I've been quite fortunate. I got a profile, I suppose. I haven't had to be that. But I know eventually that's going to die out because when the next series comes out, you're going to be forgotten. I hope I'm not forgotten about because I'm trying to build my thing now in mental health and well-being.
I think the thing you said more than anything there was that you're now living your life on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what will happen naturally is purpose will be the thing that you're known for.
Yeah.
That's just part of it. Like the TV show is just part of it. As you said, it's an ability to amplify what you're about. But like, your work you're doing with Headway, you were interviewed there and inspiring people there. And I think the transition for you is I think the biggest decision you've made now is to back yourself for purpose. And the adventure starts now, I'd say.
Oh God, yeah. My life's crazy. Yeah,
but I think that's where you're at. I think that's everything has led to you to get to this point, and I think it's what happens next, what's happening now, and the work that you do now will be your legacy. And I think just having met you a few times, you've got a great story to tell. And, as you said earlier, you're the antidote to Andrew Tate. It's a message that's worth telling, right? There's this thing of stop being this, and this, and be more like this.
Yeah.
Not many people are talking about that.
Young people feel lost at the moment, not just boys. I relate more to boys, I suppose, my background and everything. But girls as well, they feel lost. And like my role models growing up in a 10-mile radius. Now it's people all over the world. So like Andrew Tate, for example, is saying, I don't know if I say his name, he irritates me really, but he's misogynistic and the things he says are wrong, but people are following him because they feel part of something. But I was probably involved, I was involved in misogynistic behaviour growing up. I was in rugby-club at 5 years of age, watching men in their 30s, 40s, 50s say and do things, jokes about girls, and I thought, is that what you do to be a man, is it? Yeah. Is that a tough man? And I took part in that. I said jokes about girls and that, and I say to boys now, I go to lots of schools, and I say to boys now, I said, if you want to think if it's the right thing to say, would you be happy if I was your mother, your sister, or your girlfriend? If it's a no, don't say it.
Yeah.
Don't say it. If somebody said that, would you be happy if it was your mother? But if it's a no, well, don't say it. So I want to show people it's not big and strong, and it's not clever saying things like that. It's actually quite weak, and it's gutless to say things like that, to be honest with you. And I show boys now that a strong man is somebody who talks about their feelings and emotions and respectful. I say we all come into this world exactly the same, black, white, boy, girl. And then through learned behaviours, environments, traumas, we learn different ways, I said. But we're all, just take a tag off us all, we're all called humans.
Yeah.
I fed up all these groups out there, the men against the women, the blacks against the whites, we're all just human beings, at the end of the day. Take a tag off us all and call us human beings. And the world will be a much nicer, happier place, you know what I mean? And so much competition and bitching about this and that.
Yeah, 100%.
It gets me down, it really winds me up, and I don't watch the news anymore. Not because I'm ignorant, I just don't want to watch it because it's designed to scare me and to control people.
Well, it is, and I think for me, it's if I can put you in a box, then I can then say you're that person, you're that person,
yeah.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's about learning to be able to. We're human first and foremost. We're all having a one-off experience. Yeah. We're all making it up as we go along.
We're doing the best we can.
We're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
We've all been given, ideally 80, 90 years on this planet. Yeah. And for me, it's like, how can I help you become better at what you do? Yeah. And how can you help me become better at mine? And play to your strengths. All of a sudden, that's better for... If I'm playing to my strength, I don't need to compete. I don't need to compete with you. Listen, for me, it's like, I look at your social media and look at mine. Mine's miles behind, but it doesn't matter because I know what I'm doing. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't matter for me. It's like, if my job is to get someone to quit their job, which happened on the podcast, because they're working in a job that sucks and they were suing the charity, and halfway through suing the charity, they heard my story while they're listening on the podcast. They put their pen down. They literally walked into the office, said, I'm quitting. They quit within 7 days, like a Craig David story. So on a Wednesday, they quit their job. On a Thursday, they went looking for a job. On a Friday, they had a job interview. Yeah. I think on the Monday, they got accepted. On the Tuesday, they started. And on Wednesday, I bumped into him at a networking meeting. He goes, your podcast made me quit my job. Wow. And I feel so much happier. Yeah. Then that's what it is.
I feel more fulfilled. My heart and my soul feel better than I earn nowhere near as much as I was before, but I feel much happier in myself. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm chasing my dream, not living everybody else's expectations, society expectations. And by that age, you got to do this. By that age, you got to be married. By that age, why? These biological clocks, these made-up clocks, they were designed in the early 1900s where the average life expectancy was 50.
Yeah.
But we're still living to these clocks. Your grandparents, your parents are living to these clocks. I'm 47. I've never been married. I used to let that bother me. I used to put pressure on myself. All my friends are married. I used to rush into relationships. You've got to be settled down by this age. I don't care. I'm doing what I want to do now. I do things. I'm ready to do it. I'm happy doing what I want to do.
But that's the first for me, and that's it. And I think some of the stuff that you said today, I think, is indicative of where a lot of people need to get to. I think when you are happier as a person, then the right people gravitate.
Yeah.
That's a place to be. It goes to that John Lennon quote, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, happy.
Yeah.
The teacher was like, what? Yeah. Not realizing just how profound the answer to that question actually was. And I think if we could be happier and more in tune with who we are as a person, then therefore life is fun.
I said, we're all chasing this thing called happiness. Most people are chasing happiness. But I say to people, think of happiness, a little pilot light in your stomach or your chest, like a flame. It can never, ever be extinguished. It's impossible. It can't go out. It might flicker from time to time. It might go bigger, it might go smaller, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
But that'll never go out. And nobody on the outside can affect it unless you let them or believe it. There's nothing on the outside can ever affect us. Happiness is an internal job. For a young age, we get led to believe You know, if you're chasing happiness by material things, you're always going to be chasing it. When you get that holiday, when you get that them trainers, once the happiness wears off, you're going to chase the next thing, thing. But once you get happiness in you, nothing on the outside matters. And these external things, yeah, it's nice to get them. But that's not going to let you affect your happiness, because it's an internal thing. Yeah. That's what I talk to the young kids about as well in school. You know, get happy in you before you look for external stuff first.
Exactly.
It's
and
really
I mean,
important.
For me, it's that thing of a generation understanding that, you know, it's an internal thing, it's not an external thing. And I think for me, that's a message worth sharing.
Yeah.
So what does the future look like for Andrew then?
World domination.
Yeah, that's good.
Prime Minister. I couldn't do a worse job of what's going on at the moment in this country. But I just want to help inspire people. Look, all I want to do is lie on my deathbed and close my eyes and I made a difference to this planet. I made an impact to the world. I've helped people. I've broken so many stigmas that are out there. I'm just a normal guy. I'm not some guru or some academic whiz. I wasn't academic. I could have been, but it wasn't for me. I'm just a normal guy sharing my story, which I think is relatable. Yeah. I'm going to be a car accident. A trauma is a trauma. It could be whatever, cancer, whatever it is. But it's all the other things I talk about, like breaking the stigma that open up and talking makes you weak. It doesn't. It makes you braver and stronger. Failure is a bad thing. It's not as a good thing.
Yeah.
And so I try and break all these stigmas. Self-worth. You don't attach your self-worth to material things and your achievements. Your self-worth as a human being. You're a valuable, amazing human being. Like when we're born, we're the purest, most authentic, truest version of ourselves as a child. Yeah. We got no inhibitions, no self-esteem issues, no racism. There's nothing but blank canvases. And then we get all these layers put on top of us, And like one day you look in the mirror and you've got all these different things. You're down here, the true version of you, and you've got 14, 20 levels above of expectations, hurt, upset, and all I've tried to do is unpick all these layers. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do the last year or two and try and do now, to find who the true version of me, the real version is. And people say, what have we got to do to get better? It's not what you've got to do, it's what you've got to take away. It's what you've got to subtract from yourself to go back to the real version of you. Take all these other layers, unpick all these layers. It's not adding things to yourself to make you a better person. It's removing all the other layers above that you've added on top of yourself over the last 20, 30, 40 years.
And I think that was the key thing for me, is that it's being aligned is more important than anything else. Being aligned to who you are and spending enough time to answer that question, who I really am. So I talk about heart set, which is mindset can lead you 100 miles in the wrong direction. Yeah. If you're not connected to heart set. And the heart set for me is your heart is set on purpose.
I like that.
That your past, your present and future is completely aligned. You've learned through your skills, talents, abilities. When you were a kid growing up, you began to identify what those were. You then begin to build a life around them, so you maximize them in the present. And then you almost go, money, no object, success guaranteed. Where do I want to take this thing? Yeah. And if you can align those three things up with your heart set, that becomes heart set, then you will have success in life because you know what you can play to your strengths. You know you're going to maximize them because you've only got one life to live it. And actually you're building legacy. So what can I leave behind? Yeah. You know,
I like that.
And that for me is, if you've got that and then you have a mindset, great, you're going to be awesome. And I think for me, if I can get people to go more in than out first, then you can process what's coming out of you, and rather than see it as a negative, you might be able to correct it, or you might be able to reshape it, and you might, because it doesn't affect you because you know who you are.
I said that I spoke to 1,500 people in 3 separate schools in Leeds last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And they were great children, they were amazing. Because I believe every child deserves a chance in life, regardless where you come from. Every child deserves a chance in education to flourish. And these children said, "What do we do for a living?" I said, "What you want to do?" I said, "Find something you're passionate about as a young age and try and turn it into a career." It's like you're never working again then. Don't give in to peer pressure. Be a doctor like your mum. Be a teacher like your dad. Do what you want to do and try and find something. It might be creative, might be whatever, artistic, whatever it is. Try and find it and don't worry about money. Money will come off the back of it eventually. If you work hard enough, it's like if you do something every day you love and you're passionate about, it's like you're not working. You're going to work every morning. I used to drag myself to a job in the bank. I used to hate. It didn't fulfill me. I didn't hate it. It didn't fulfill me. It didn't fulfill me. I thought, I had a good job. And on the outside, you got a good job, good money. It wasn't fulfilling at all. I liked it. I worked with customers. I like working with people and talking and building relationships, but it didn't fulfill me. Do you know what I mean? So I say to youngsters now, do something you're passionate about and try and, I say to parents, don't put pressure on your children. I know you want what's best for them in life. You want what's best for them, but they'll be fine. Let them do what they want to do. Let them go down their own path. You've got to make mistakes themselves. Be there for them to pick up the pieces. If it goes wrong, let them do what they want to do, what they're passionate about. Don't force them to do a job, because they end up doing a job for 20, 30, 40 years they hate, just keep you happy.
And that's it. And I would say the biggest thing in parenting is being able to give them the ability to make the choices themselves, to make the right choices. Know what a good choice looks like. Know what a bad choice looks like.
Yeah.
But make that in line with the path and the journey that you as a child are actually on. Yeah. I might have been a great sports person, not to say your kids are. Yeah. So find out what their thing is to build a life around it. And I think I see so many parents projecting their failed sports journey with their kids, and you know, and they're never going to make it. So then, if they never make it or they never get selected, then they're going to spend the rest of their life thinking they're an absolute failure. Yeah, whereas for me, the beauty of homeschooling, which I'm a good champion of, is that you can see you're a bit more around. You can see where they enjoy this, or they're more inquisitive around this, or they've got more of a academic brain as opposed to a, you know, but other people prefer to go and do stuff and learn in the field or whatever. So for me, keep doing what you're doing, Andrew. Keep inspiring the next generation. Honestly, I could spend another hour here.
I know. Part 2 next time.
Part 2 next time. But really, thank you. How would someone like reach out to you, get connected to you, if they want you to come and speak at their school or get involved or whatever? How do they reach out?
So my website is www.andrewjenkins.co. Instagram, Andrew Jenkins Official, LinkedIn is most of my work, to be honest with you, and my website, to be honest. So yeah, drop me a message, drop me an email. I'd love to come and talk to your business, talk to your school. Yeah, so it was my purpose in life. It lights a fire in my belly. It actually lights me up inside. I love talking about it, so it's brilliant. So hope I'll come and speak to your company soon.
No, thank you so much. Cheers, absolutely loved it. It's been fun, and we're definitely going to get you back. Brilliant. If you'll have us.
I will.
All right, thank you.
I love the coffee, it was great, so I'll definitely come back.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Purpose People podcast. How you can help us is to like and subscribe our YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, Google, and Amazon. That helps us get our message out there to help people go after their dreams, double down on it, and be successful in life on their terms.